Marcus Chen had lived alone on his Kansas farm for 5 years. His wife had left him. His children had grown up and moved to big cities. Now he spent his days in his old barn, fixing motorcycles that other people had given up on. He was good at it. Some said he was the best in 3 states. Broken engines, rusted parts, machines that had not run in 50 years. Marcus could fix them all. He liked the quiet life. He liked the smell of oil and metal. He liked the way a dead machine could come back to life under his hands. It was simple work, honest work, and it kept him from thinking too much about how empty his house felt at night. The night everything changed started like any other. Marcus was in his barn at 2 in the morning, working on a 1962 motorcycle that a collector had sent him. The radio played old country songs. Coffee sat cold on his workbench. His hands were black with grease. Then the sky turned bright as day. Marcus ran outside just in time to see something huge and burning tear across the heavens. It was not a plane. It was not a meteor. It was something else entirely. The thing screamed over his farmhouse, so close he felt the heat on his face. And then it crashed into his wheat field with a sound like the end of the world. Fire spread across his crops. Smoke rose into the night sky. Marcus stood there for a long moment, his heart beating fast, his mind trying to understand what he had just seen done. Then he ran toward the crash. The thing in his field was a ship. He knew that right away, even though it looked like nothing humans had ever built. It was big, maybe 60 feet long, made of metal that shifted colors in the firelight. Parts of it were curved like muscle. Other parts were sharp like blades. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Marcus found the opening on the side. The door had been torn away by the crash. Inside, everything was dark, except for small lights that blinked red and yellow. Warning lights, he guessed. Nothing good. He climbed inside. The ship smelled like burned plastic and something else. Something like flowers mixed with copper. He followed the smell deeper into the wreck, climbing over broken walls and shattered machines until he found her. She was tall. Very tall. Maybe 7 feet, though it was hard to tell because she was lying twisted in the wreckage. Her skin was pale blue, like a winter sky. Silver liquid leaked from cuts all over her body. Blood, Marcus realized. Alien blood, but it was her armor that caught his attention. She wore something that looked like the plate armor of ancient knights, but made of material that seemed almost alive. It covered her whole body except for her face. Tubes ran from the armor into her flesh. Small lights flickered along the spine, growing weaker as he watched. The armor was keeping her alive. And the armor was dying. Marcus did not think about calling the government. He did not think about the danger. He did not think about anything except the fact that someone was hurt and he could help. He went back to his barn and got his tools. For the next 3 days, Marcus barely slept. He barely ate. He worked on the alien armor like he had never worked on anything in his life. The metal was strange. It did not act like steel or aluminum or anything he knew. When he heated it, it moved away from the flame. When he tried to cut it, it hardened. So he learned. He watched. He experimented. Slowly, he began to understand how the material wanted to be treated. The circuits inside were even stranger. They were partly electronic and partly something else. Organic, almost. Like the armor was half machine and half living thing. But circuits were circuits in the end. They had logic. They had patterns. Marcus found those patterns and followed them. He used parts from his motorcycles to replace the ones that were too damaged to fix. He adapted fuel injection systems to feed whatever power source the armor used. He made new pieces on his metalworking machines, measuring and adjusting until they fit perfectly. He stitched torn synthetic muscles with needle and thread, working under a magnifying glass for hours at a time. On the second day, her breathing got stronger. On the third day, her wounds started to close. The silver blood stopped flowing. On the fourth day, she opened her eyes. They were golden. Bright gold, with vertical pupils like a cat. They fixed on Marcus with an intensity that made him step back. She spoke in a language he did not understand. It sounded like singing and thunder mixed together. But then something in her armor clicked and hummed, and when she spoke again, he could understand her. "Who are you?" "Name's Marcus?" "Marcus Chun." He wiped his hands on his jeans, suddenly aware of how he must look. Unshaved, unwashed, covered in grease and alien blood. "You crashed in my field. I've been fixing your armor. You were pretty banged up." She looked down at herself. Her hands moved over the armor, touching the places where Marcus had made repairs. Her golden eyes went wide. "This is impossible," she whispered. "This damage. Our best engineers said it could not be fixed. They said Void Singer was dead." "Void Singer?" "My armor. My bonded Battleplate." She sat up slowly, and Marcus saw tears forming in her strange eyes. "It has been in my family for 11,000 years. It is sacred. It is part of me. And you saved it. I just did what I could. I'm good with machines. You are more than good." She stood, and Marcus had to look up at her. She was even taller than he had thought. And despite everything, despite the crash and the injuries and the days of unconsciousness, she held herself like a queen. "You have done something that should not be possible. And you do not even know what it means. What does it mean?" Before she could answer, lights appeared in the sky. Many lights. Coming down fast. "They've found me," she said. Her voice had changed. Harder now. More commanding. "My people are coming. And when they learn what you have done, everything will change." "Change how?" She looked at him with those golden eyes, and he saw something there that might have been fear, or wonder, or both. "You have performed the rite of the bonded smith. By the oldest laws of my people, you have earned a right that no outsider has ever held." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. "You have earned the right to claim my hand in marriage. And I am the Empress of the Kithrin Dominion." Marcus stared at her. Then he looked up at the descending lights. Then he looked back at her. "I'm going to need more coffee," he said. The ships came down like falling stars. There were 12 of them, each one bigger than any building Marcus had ever seen. They did not land. They floated in the air above his farm, blocking out the night sky with their massive shadows. Blue light poured from their bellies, making the whole area bright as Noon. Marcus stood on his porch with a fresh cup of coffee, watching the spectacle. The Empress stood beside him. She had told him her name was Cyrillith Vex, third of her name, sovereign of 12 spiral arms. He had told her she could call him Marcus. Smaller craft dropped from the big ships. Hundreds of soldiers poured out, forming lines around the farmhouse and barn. They all wore armor similar to the Empress's, though less grand. They all carried weapons that hummed with strange energy. They all stared at Marcus with expressions he could not read. "Stay calm," Cyrillith said. "Let me handle this." "Your house, your rules," Marcus replied. He sipped his coffee. The crowd of soldiers parted, and a figure walked through. He was tall and handsome in the way Cyrillith was beautiful. Pale blue skin, golden eyes. But where her face showed warmth, his showed only cold pride. He wore armor of deep red, and he moved like someone who expected everyone to get out of his way. He knelt before the Empress. But Marcus noticed the gesture looked more like a performance than real respect. "Empress, we feared the worst when your flagship was destroyed." His voice was smooth as silk. The Vrethic ambush was devastating. We thought you lost. As you can see, High Commander Kithros, I survived. Cyrilla's voice had changed. It was harder now, more formal. This was not the wounded woman Marcus had saved. This was a ruler. My survival is thanks to this human. Kithros looked at Marcus for the first time. His golden eyes swept over the dirty jeans, the worn flannel shirt, the calloused hands wrapped around a coffee mug. His lip curled with disgust. This creature? How could it possibly help you? He restored Void Singer from complete destruction. He saved my life. The silence that followed was heavy. Every soldier within hearing distance turned to stare at Marcus. Kithros went very still. That is impossible, Kithros said. Our scans showed your battleplate was beyond repair. The damage was total. No one could restore it. Not even our finest artificers. And yet he did. Cyrillith raised her arm, and her armor came alive with light. Screens appeared in the air, showing diagrams and numbers. Furthermore, his repairs have improved the armor's performance. Power efficiency is up 32%. Neural response time is nearly perfect. He did not just fix Void Singer. He made it better. The whispers started immediately. Marcus heard a word repeated over and over among the soldiers. Kethvorin. It seemed to carry great weight. Kithros heard it too, and his face twisted with anger. Empress, surely you cannot be suggesting that this alien has performed. The right of the bonded smith. The law is ancient, ceremonial. It was never meant for outsiders. The law makes no exceptions. An old woman pushed through the crowd. She wore robes instead of armor, and she leaned on a staff carved with strange symbols. I am Highkeeper Thessaly, guardian of the old covenants. I have reviewed the Battleplate's records. What this human accomplished is unprecedented. In 11,000 years, no smith has done what he did in 3 days. With primitive tools, without training, without even knowing what he worked on. I just fixed what was broken, Marcus said. That's what I do. You did far more than that. Thessaly walked up to him, her ancient eyes studying his face. The right of the bonded smith is our oldest law. It says that one who restores an empress's sacred armor has proven their soul worthy. They have earned the right to claim her hand in marriage. Marcus nearly choked on his coffee. I'm sorry, what? He cannot claim the empress. Kithros stepped forward, his hand on his weapon. He is not Kitharin. He is not noble. He is nothing but a primitive from a primitive world. The law does not speak of blood or birth, Thessaly said calmly. It speaks only of worthiness. And worthiness is proven through action. She turned to the gathered soldiers. What say you? Is this human worthy? The soldiers looked at each other. Then one stepped forward. A young woman with battle scars on her armor. She raised her fist and stamped her foot. Worthy! Another soldier joined her. Then another. Then 10 more. Then 100. They stamped their feet in rhythm, and a chant began to rise. Wed him! Wed him! Wed him! The sound was deafening. It echoed off the hovering ships. It shook the ground beneath Marcus's feet. He stood there, coffee cup in hand, watching as an army of aliens chanted for him to marry their empress. Kithros looked like he had swallowed poison. His handsome face was twisted with rage. He opened his mouth to speak, but Cyrillith raised her hand, and the chanting stopped. The law grants the bonded smith and the one he saved 30 days, she said. 30 days to determine if the bond is true. I will not rush this decision. I will not let politics decide my fate. She looked at Marcus, and her formal mask slipped just a little. Will you grant me this time, Marcus Chun? Will you stay with my people as a guest? Learn of us as we learn of you? Marcus looked at her. He looked at Kithros, whose hatred was plain on his face. He looked at the soldiers, whose eyes shone with hope. He looked at his farm, his barn, his quiet life that would never be the same again. "I'm not looking to marry anyone," he said slowly. "I just fixed your armor because you were dying. That's all. I know. And that is exactly why the law applies." Cyrillith's voice softened. "You helped me without expecting reward, without knowing who I was. That kind of selflessness is rare in my world. Everything in my life comes with strings attached. Every gift demands payment. Every kindness hides an agenda." She paused. "Except yours." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his empty house, his lonely nights, his life that had become small and safe and without purpose. 30 days, he said finally. "I can do 30 days. The soldiers erupted in cheers. Thessaly smiled. Kithras turned and stormed away without another word. Cyrillith watched him go, and Marcus saw worry flicker across her face. "You have made an enemy today. Kithras has wanted my throne for decades. He will see you as a threat. I'm just a mechanic from Kansas. I'm no threat to anyone. You are a human who did the impossible. You are a symbol of something the common people want to believe in. That makes you the most dangerous person in my empire." She met his eyes. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Marcus drained the last of his coffee. "Lady, I fixed your magic space armor in a barn with motorcycle parts. Compared to that, how hard can politics be?" She laughed. It was a beautiful sound, like wind chimes in a storm. "Oh, Marcus, you have no idea what you have gotten yourself into." "Probably not," he agreed. "But I've never been the type to walk away from a challenge." He looked up at the massive warships floating above his wheat field, at the hundreds of alien soldiers watching him with hope and fear and wonder. Somewhere up there was an empire he had never heard of, fighting wars he could not imagine, ruled by a woman he had saved by accident. 30 days. He had 30 days to figure out if this was the craziest thing he had ever done, or the best. Probably both, he decided. Probably both. 2 weeks had passed since Marcus left Earth behind. The flagship Constellation's Edge was bigger than most cities. It held 50,000 crew members, along with soldiers, engineers, diplomats, and servants. Marcus got lost at least twice a day, wandering the endless corridors of gleaming metal and soft blue light. He spent most of his time in the repair bays. The Kithran engineers had been suspicious of him at first. This primitive human touching their sacred machines? Impossible. Insulting. The word of what he had done to the Empress's armor spread fast. Soon they were bringing him problems. Small things at first. A power coupling that would not align. A navigation system that gave wrong readings. A weapon array that fired a half-second too slow. Marcus fixed them all. He did not know how he did it. The Kithran technology was thousands of years ahead of anything on Earth. He could not read their language. He did not understand their science. But when he put his hands on a broken machine, something happened. He could feel what was wrong. He could sense the way the parts wanted to fit together. It was like the machines were talking to him, and he was the only one who could hear. "You have a gift," Cyrillith told him one evening. They were in her private quarters, sharing a meal. She had started inviting him for dinner every night. It was the only time she could escape the demands of ruling. "Our scholars have a theory. They think you have a natural connection to the fundamental patterns of technology. Something in your brain that lets you understand machines on an instinctive level." "I've always been good with my hands," Marcus said. "Never thought much about it. Our entire civilization is built on technology, and you understand it better than people who have studied it for centuries." She shook her head. "No wonder the soldiers love you. To them, you are like something from an old legend. The simple outsider who sees what the wise miss." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." Why is Kithros so angry? I understand he wants to marry you for power, but it seems like more than that. Cyrillith set down her food. Her golden eyes grew distant. Kithros believes I am weak. He believes that an empire at war needs a strong ruler. Someone who will make hard choices without hesitation. Someone who will sacrifice anything for victory. She paused. He thinks my compassion is a flaw. He thinks I care too much about the people I rule. And do you? Yes. She said it simply, without shame. I have watched empresses before me treat their subjects as tools, as resources to be spent. I have seen what that kind of rule does to a people. It makes them obedient, but it kills their spirit. I want something different. I want my people to follow me because they believe in what we are building, not because they fear what happens if they refuse. Marcus nodded slowly. That's why the soldiers chant for me. Not because they really want you to marry some random human, but because they want you to have a choice. They want to see you happy. They are romantics. All soldiers are in their own way. She smiled sadly. But Kithros will never let that happen. He has been working against me for years, moving his allies into position, weakening my support among the noble houses. And now you have given him the perfect excuse. What do you mean? If I accept you, he will claim I have been corrupted by an alien influence. He will say I am unfit to rule. The noble houses will support him because they have never liked my reforms. There will be civil war. Her hands clenched. But if I refuse you without cause, I violate the old laws. The common people will lose faith in me. They will say I have abandoned our traditions to please the nobles. So either way, Kithros wins. Either way, he damages me. That has been his game all along. Not to rule himself, but to make my rule impossible. To force me into a corner where every choice is a bad one. Marcus stood up and walked to the window. Stars drifted past, endless points of light in the black void. Somewhere out there were the Vrethik, the enemy Cyrillith had told him about. Insect creatures who saw all other life as food. They had been at war with the Dominion for centuries, and they were winning. Tell me more about Kithros, Marcus said. Tell me everything. Over the next hour, Cyrillith told him. She told him about Kithros' family, one of the oldest noble houses, who believed they should have been given the throne generations ago. She told him about his rise through the military, his brilliant tactics, his absolute ruthlessness. She told him about the soldiers who worshipped him and the soldiers who feared him, and she told him about the things that did not make sense. Ships lost in battles that should have been easy victories. Supply lines cut by enemies who seemed to know exactly where to strike. Communication failures at the worst possible moments. You think there is a traitor, Marcus said. I think there is a pattern, but I cannot prove anything. And without proof, accusing the High Commander of treason would destroy me faster than any coup. Marcus was quiet for a long time. He thought about machines, about patterns, about the way broken things revealed their secrets if you looked at them the right way. I want to see the battle records, he said. All of them. Every engagement for the past 5 years. Why? Because someone has been sabotaging your war effort. And sabotage leaves traces. Like a machine with a bad part. Everything looks fine until you watch it work. Then you see where the failure comes from. Cyrillith studied him for a long moment. You believe you can find proof? Even our intelligence officers have found nothing. Your intelligence officers are Kitharan. They think in Kitharan patterns. They look for Kitharan motives. Marcus turned from the window. I am human. I think differently. Maybe that is what you need. She stood up and crossed the room to stand beside him. She was so tall that she had to look down to meet his eyes. This close, he could see the small details of her face. The faint lines around her eyes that showed her weariness. The strength in her jaw. the way her silver hair caught the starlight. "You would do this for me?" she asked softly. "Risk making an enemy of the most powerful man in my military? I came here to help. Finding out who's trying to destroy you seems like a good way to do that. And if you find nothing? If I am wrong, and Kithros is exactly what he appears to be." Marcus shrugged. "Then at least we will know. But I don't think you're wrong. I think you have good instincts. And I think you have been doubting yourself because everyone around you keeps telling you that compassion is weakness." Cyrillith was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out and took his hand. Her skin was cool and smooth against his rough palm. "You are a strange man, Marcus Chan. I am a simple man. I fix things that are broken. Your empire is broken. Let me see if I can help." She squeezed his hand. "Then I will give you everything you need. Access to all records. Authority to ask any question. And if you find the proof we need." She paused. "If you find the proof, I will make sure the traitors face justice. No matter who they are, even if it means war." Even then, her golden eyes hardened with determination. "I am tired of playing defense. I am tired of watching my people suffer while I try to keep the peace. If there are traitors in my midst, I want to know. I want to act. And I want you beside me when I do." Marcus looked at the Empress of 12 spiral arms standing in the starlight, holding his hand like it was the only solid thing in the universe. "Then let's get to work," he said. 3 weeks in, and Marcus had found the pattern dot. It had taken him hundreds of hours. He had read through thousands of battle reports. He had traced supply routes and communication logs and crew transfers. He had asked questions that made admirals uncomfortable and demanded answers that made bureaucrats sweat. And now he knew. The traitor was not just one person. It was a network. Dozens of officers, all connected to noble houses loyal to Kithros. They had been feeding information to the Vrethek for years. Not constantly. Not obviously. Just enough to tip the balance. A patrol route leaked here. A supply convoy location revealed there. Small betrayals that added up to thousands of dead soldiers and a war that could not be won. But the proof he needed was still missing. The connections were too hidden. The evidence too easy to explain away. If Marcus accused Kithros now, the High Commander would simply deny everything, and his loyal officers would back him up. He needed something bigger. He needed Kithros to reveal himself. Marcus was in the engineering bay, thinking about this problem, when Captain Vexira found him. She was one of the soldiers who had first chanted for him on Earth. Since then, she had become something like a friend. She was young, fierce, and absolutely loyal to the Empress. "You look troubled," she said. "I found the traitors. But I can't prove it." Vexira's eyes went wide. "You found them? Who?" "I can't tell you yet. Not until I have proof that will hold up." He set down the tool he had been holding. "But I need to tell you something else. Something important." "What?" "There is going to be a battle soon. The scouts have found a Vrethek fleet near Velkin's Gate. The Empress is planning to engage them." "I know. The whole fleet knows. It will be a major engagement. It will be a trap." Marcus pulled out a datapad and showed her the patterns he had found. Every time the Dominion has planned a major attack in the past 2 years, the Vrethek have been ready. They always know where we will be and when. This battle will be no different. The enemy is going to be waiting for us with overwhelming force. Vexira stared at the data. Her face went pale. "You are certain?" "As certain as I can be. The information is leaking from somewhere in high command. And I think I know where." He paused. "I think Kithros is going to use this battle to kill the Empress. He will make it look like a military defeat, but it will really be an assassination. This is madness. Even Kithros would not dare. He would if he thought he could get away with it. Think about it. The Empress dies in battle. Tragic. Heroic. The nobles rally around Kithros as the only one who can save the Dominion. He takes the throne, and no one ever knows it was murder. Vexira was silent for a long moment. Then she looked up at Marcus with fire in her eyes. What do? We prepare. We make the ship ready for a fight unlike anything it has faced before. And we do it quietly, without telling anyone who might warn Kithros. Can you do that? Make the ship ready, I mean? Marcus smiled. It was not a kind smile. I have been fixing machines my whole life. Now, I'm going to turn this flagship into the deadliest warship in your galaxy. And when Kithros springs his trap, we are going to spring one of our own. Over the next 3 days, Marcus worked without rest. He modified engine systems to give the ship more speed and agility. He upgraded weapon arrays to fire faster and hit harder. He improved shield generators to absorb more damage. He created communication systems that could not be jammed. Every repair he had made over the past weeks, every improvement, every small change, all of it came together into something new. The engineers watched him with amazement. The things he did should have been impossible. He was combining technologies that were never meant to work together. He was using human methods on alien machines. And somehow, impossibly, it was all working. On the night before the battle, he went to see Cyrillith. She was in her quarters, already wearing her armor. Voidsinger gleamed in the low light, humming with power. She looked like something from a painting, a warrior goddess preparing for war. "You have been busy," she said. "I had to be." He handed her a datapad. "This is everything I found. The pattern of betrayals, the officers involved, and my prediction for tomorrow's battle." She read through it quickly. Her expression did not change, but her hands tightened on the pad until he heard the material creak. "Kithros," she said finally. "I always knew, somewhere deep inside, but I did not want to believe. He is going to try to kill you tomorrow. His ship will be with the Vredhic fleet. He's going to attack you directly while the rest of the fleet is overwhelmed. And you want me to run? To avoid the battle?" "No." Marcus stepped closer to her. "I want you to win. I have spent 3 days making sure you can. This ship is faster now, stronger. The enemy will not expect what we can do. And when Kithros reveals himself, we will have witnesses. We will have proof. Every ship in the fleet will see the High Commander fighting alongside the enemy." Cyrillith was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached up and touched his face. Her cool fingers traced the line of his jaw. "You would do this for me," she said softly. "Fight a battle that is not yours. Risk your life against an enemy you have no reason to hate." "I have my reasons. And what are those?" Marcus met her golden eyes. "When I found you in that wreck, you were just someone who needed help. But these past weeks, I have seen who you are. I have seen the way you care for your people. I have seen the weight you carry, and the grace with which you carry it. I have seen the empire you are trying to build, and I believe in it. That is not a reason. That is a justification." "Fine." He took a breath. "Then here's the reason. I have been alone for a long time. I thought I liked it that way. I thought I did not need anyone. But these past weeks with you have shown me how wrong I was. You make me want to be better. You make me want to do things that matter. You make me want to fight for something larger than myself." Cyrillith's eyes shimmered. "Marcus, I am not asking for anything. I know I am just a human. I know I do not belong in your world. But I am going to fight for you tomorrow. And whatever happens, I want you to know why." She did not speak. Instead, she leaned down and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was soft and warm and tasted like starlight. It lasted only a moment, but in that moment, Marcus felt like he had touched something infinite. When she pulled back, Her eyes were bright with tears. "Whatever happens tomorrow, Marcus Chun, know this. You have already given me more than any suitor ever could. You have given me hope. Then let's make sure we live long enough to see what comes next." She smiled. It was the first real smile he had seen from her since the night they met. Yes, let's. The battle for the future of the Dominion would begin in 12 hours. And Marcus, the mechanic from Kansas, was going to make sure they won. The trap was perfect. That was the first thing Marcus thought when the Constellation's Edge dropped out of hyperspace at Vulcan's Gate. 20 Dominion warships had come expecting a routine battle. They found 100 Rethic dreadnoughts waiting for them. The enemy ships were massive and ugly, covered in spines and claws like the insects that crewed them. They hung in space like a wall of death, already powering weapons as the Dominion fleet arrived. Every communication channel filled with static. Someone was jamming them. Kithros' people, Marcus knew. The plan was simple. Isolate each ship. Overwhelm them one by one. Make sure no one survived to tell the truth about what had happened here. But Marcus had spent 3 days preparing for exactly this moment. Helm. Activate the modified engines. Cyrillith commanded from her throne. She wore Voidsinger like a second skin. The armor connected to the ship's systems through neural links Marcus had improved. Execute Evasive Pattern 7. The Constellation's Edge moved like nothing its size should move. It spun and twisted through the incoming fire, dodging blasts that should have torn it apart. The modifications Marcus had made to the engine systems were working better than he had hoped. The flagship danced through the chaos like a fighter craft. "Communications are live," Marcus called from his station at the engineering console. "The frequency hopping system is working. They cannot jam us." Cyrillith's voice rang out across the fleet. "All ships, this is the Empress. Activate emergency communication protocols. Form defensive pattern Omega. Focus fire on the command ships. Do not let them surround you." One by one, the Dominion ships responded. Not all of them. Some captains were loyal to Kithros and hung back, waiting. But enough ships followed the Empress. Enough ships fought back. The battle line reformed, and suddenly the trap did not look so perfect anymore. The fighting was brutal. Ships on both sides took heavy damage. Explosions lit the darkness of space. Marcus worked at his console without pause, rerouting power, managing damage control, squeezing every bit of performance from the systems he had modified. He could feel the ship around him like an extension of his own body. Every hit, every strain, every moment of stress then came the moment he had been waiting for. "Empress." Vaxira's voice was sharp with shock. "We are detecting a Dominion ship among the Rethak command group. It is the Crimson Fist, Kithros' personal warship, fighting alongside the enemy. All ships, mark this moment," Cyrillith said. Her voice was cold with fury. "High Commander Kithros has committed treason. His vessel is to be treated as hostile." Across the fleet, soldiers watched their screens in disbelief. The High Commander, the hero of 100 battles, was fighting for the enemy. The betrayal was complete. The proof was undeniable. Kithros must have known he was exposed, because his face suddenly appeared on every screen. He was broadcasting on all channels. "People of the Dominion, your Empress has been corrupted. She has allowed an alien to poison our sacred traditions. She has weakened us with her foolish compassion. I act now to save our civilization from her mistakes. Join me, and together we will build an empire worthy of our ancestors." Marcus looked at the broadcast and shook his head. "He's still making speeches?" "We are in the middle of a battle." He pressed a sequence of buttons on his console. Kithros' broadcast dissolved into static. The shutdown command had worked perfectly. "Did you just cut off the High Commander of all our military forces?" Cyrillith asked. His security encryption was terrible. Should have updated it years ago. Despite everything, she laughed. Then she stood from her throne. All hands, prepare for boarding action. Kithros is making for our position. He wants to kill me personally. So let us give him the chance to try. The crimson fist slammed into the constellation's edge with a scream of tearing metal. Boarding tubes punched through the hull. Soldiers poured through. Kithros is elite guard. The best fighters in the fleet that Marcus grabbed the weapon Vexera had given him weeks ago. He had practiced with it every day, learning the alien fighting style, finding its weaknesses. Now he followed Cyrillith into the corridor to face the enemy. The fighting was close and savage. Kithrin against Kithrin, a civil war condensed into the narrow passages of a starship. Marcus stayed close to the Empress, covering her back, using his human unpredictability to throw off enemies who had trained their whole lives to fight in rigid patterns. He was not skilled. He was not powerful. But he was different. And in the chaos of battle, different could be deadly. They found Kithros at the junction between ships, surrounded by his personal guard. The traitor wore armor of deep crimson, almost as magnificent as Cyrillith's own. He smiled when he saw them approaching. The mechanic thinks himself a warrior now. Kithros laughed. How pathetic. You should have stayed in your barn, human. You do not belong here. And you should have stayed loyal, Cyrillith replied. But it seems we both chose different paths. She raised her blade and attacked. The duel was incredible. Cyrillith and Kithros moved with speed and power that Marcus could barely follow. Their weapons clashed in showers of sparks. The air crackled with the energy of their armor. They were evenly matched, two warriors at the peak of their abilities. Marcus tried to help, but Kithros' guards cut him off. There were 4 of them, each one bigger and stronger than him. They drove him back with precise strikes, working together like a single machine. He could not win this fight. They were too good dot, so he changed the rules. Marcus let them push him back toward a wall panel. He knew this section of the ship. He had worked on every system here, and he knew exactly what would happen when he triggered the gravity controls. You know the problem with you Kithrins? He said. You always follow the same patterns. He hit the switch. The gravity reversed. Everyone in the corridor flew upward, slamming into the ceiling with bone-cracking force. Marcus had expected it. He had positioned himself to land on the guards, using their bodies to cushion his fall when gravity returned 2 seconds later. He rolled free, bruised but alive, and looked up to see Cyrillith standing over Kithros. Her blade pressed against his throat. You have lost, she said. Your Vrethic friends are retreating. Your ships are surrendering. Your treason has been witnessed by the entire fleet. Kithros spat blood. It does not matter. The nobles will never accept a human as your consort. They will tear the Dominion apart before they allow it. The nobles will accept what the people accept. Cyrillith looked at Marcus, and her eyes were bright with something he had never seen in her before. Joy. And the people have made their choice. As if in answer, the ship's communication system crackled. Across the fleet, across the battlefield, the same chant was rising from thousands of throats. Wed him! Wed him! Wed him! Marcus limped over to stand beside Cyrillith. His body ached. His hands were shaking. But he was smiling. They really like that chant. They really like you. She took his hand, the same way she had in her quarters the night before. The bonded smith who saved their empress twice over. The human who proved that worth has nothing to do with where you are born. So what happens now? She looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. Now we end this battle. Then we rebuild our fleet. Then we win this war. She squeezed his hand. And then, if you are still willing, we finish what the old law started. Are you asking me to marry you? I am asking you to stand beside me, to help me build something worth believing in, to be my partner in all things for as long as we both live." She paused. "Is that a problem?" Marcus thought about his empty farmhouse back on Earth. He thought about the lonely nights and the quiet days. He thought about all the years he had spent fixing other people's machines, never building anything of his own. Then he thought about the woman standing in front of him, the Empress who cared more about her people than her power, the warrior who fought for those who could not fight for themselves, the person who had looked at a simple mechanic from Kansas and seen someone worth believing in. "No problem at all," he said. 6 months later, they were married. The wedding was broadcast across 12 spiral arms. Marcus wore armor he had designed himself, practical and simple, built to work rather than to impress. Cyrillith wore Voidsinger, the armor that had brought them together. When the Highkeeper asked if Marcus was worthy, the answer came from 1 billion voices across 100 worlds. "Worthy! Worthy! Worthy!" And somewhere on a small farm in Kansas, a barn sat empty, its motorcycles waiting for a mechanic who had found something better to fix. The stars called to humanity that day, and humanity answered.